Ella Harper. On January 5th, 1870, in Henderson, Tennessee, a girl named Ella Harper was born with an extremely rare orthopedic condition known as congenital genu recurvatum, which is believed to affect just 1 in 100,000 births. The result of this unusual disorder was that Ella Harper's knees bent backwards, leading her to walk on all fours for comfort. This posture would inspire her nickname, the Camel Girl. From the age of just 12, Ella found herself in front of large audiences as part of various traveling sideshows where she captivated audiences. At the age of 16, Ella was featured in the popular W.H. Harris's Nickel Plate Circus and frequently appeared in newspapers where she would pose for photographs and give interviews, thus bringing her widespread fame and recognition. Harris's circus already featured fearless lion tamers and gravity-defying acrobats who performed atop horses. Ella, however, was its star, and the contemporary press called her, quote, the most wonderful freak of nature since the creation of the world. With time, however, Ella began to feel degraded and humiliated by her position, particularly when she was forced to share her stage with a real-life camel, with the similarities pointed out to the audience. While her condition brought her fame and fortune in the form of a substantial $200 a week salary, equivalent to around $5,000 today, Ella Harper refused to be defined by it. Her 1886 pitch card read, quote, I'm called the Camel Girl because my knees turn backward. I've traveled considerably in the show business for the past 4 years, and now this is 1886, and I intend to quit the show business and go to school and fit myself for another occupation. After just a year as one of Harris's performers, Ella had saved a substantial amount of money, which enabled her to quit and pursue her academic ambitions. Records show that Ella Harper distanced herself from sideshow performance, eventually falling in love with a schoolteacher whom she married in 1905. The following year, Ella gave birth to a baby girl. Myrtle Corbin. Dipygus is a serial congenital deformity that results in a duplication of the lower torso, pelvis, and legs. While most examples of dipygus have been observed in the context of the animal kingdom, there has been a limited number of humans with the disorder. Born Josephine Corbin on May 12, 1869, Myrtle Corbin is perhaps history's most famous case of dipygus. Doctors and academics of the era described her as, quote, a monster by fusion. Physicians described Myrtle's parents as both having auburn hair, blue eyes, and a very fair complexion. So similar were Myrtle's parents in their appearance that doctors felt the need to point out that the pair were not blood kin. Nevertheless, speculation that her parents were related and may be responsible for Myrtle's condition was prevalent. Myrtle's deformity resulted in her having 2 separate pelvises, side by side, as well as 4 legs, the inner 2 of which developed to be much smaller than normal. While Myrtle was capable of moving each of her 4 legs independently, the inner 2 were said to be too weak for her to walk on. At the fragile age of 13, Myrtle became part of the sideshow circus and was dubbed the 4-legged girl from Texas. One promotional pamphlet, gentle of disposition as the summer sunshine, and as happy as the day is long. Her appearances in sideshows were so popular, in fact, that competing showmen created fake 4-legged performers, and Myrtle enjoyed this level of popularity for many more years. After describing Myrtle as bright and highly intelligent, one Lewis Whaley, who had known Myrtle since she was a little girl, wrote of her in the British Medical Journal, describing her organs as being of, quote, perfect dual development. At the age of 19, Myrtle married and fell pregnant a year later, to the surprise of medical professionals. Describing Myrtle later in her life, an article of the Times stated that, quote, the Myrtle Corbin of days gone by is attractive in face, physically well, and able to attend all her household duties. She was also called, quote, a refined woman of some musical taste. Myrtle ultimately gave birth to 5 healthy children and lived to the age of 59. After Myrtle Corbin died, some private oddity collectors placed a price on her corpse, resulting in her family having concrete poured over the grave after the burial. Colloredo Brothers. Lazarus and Johannes Baptista Colloredo were conjoined twins born in Genoa, Italy in the early 17th century. While Lazarus was mobile and fully operational, the upper body and left leg of his brother protruded from his torso. Johannes Baptiste, who was later determined to be a parasitic twin, did not speak, almost always kept his eyes closed, and left his mouth agape at all times. One later account of the Colloredo brothers' condition, written by a contemporary anatomist named Thomas Bartholinus, stated that if one pressed down on the chest of Johannes Baptiste, he would move his hands, ears, and lips, but that he was otherwise mostly inanimate. Johannes Baptiste was also determined to have very little consciousness and was capable of faintly breathing and little else. His head swelled as it filled with undrainable cerebrospinal fluid over the course of his life, eventually becoming twice as large as that of his twin Lazarus. Although mocked from an early age, Lazarus sought to capitalize on his condition, exhibiting himself and his brother in various sideshow performances for much of their lives. Lazarus, who was by all accounts a handsome and charming gentleman despite his dangling sibling, took them on a sideshow tour, visiting Switzerland, Denmark, Gdansk, Germany, Italy, the Ottoman Empire, and Scotland, where he visited the court of King Charles I of England. According to various sources, Lazarus would cover his brother with a cloak when not performing, so as to avoid any unnecessary or unwanted attention. Apparently, Lazarus's life after his career as a performer was equally interesting. He married and had several healthy children, even achieving a significant social status, as is suggested by the costumes he is depicted wearing in portraits. After breaking a wine bottle over a drunken aggressor's head, Lazarus was found guilty of murder and was sentenced to death. Lazarus, however, avoided execution by pointing out to the court that killing him would also result in the illegal execution of his innocent brother. Lucia Zarate. Lucia Zarate was born in Veracruz, Mexico on January 2, 1864, and was the first person to be officially identified and diagnosed with her particular type of dwarfism. By the age of 1, it was said that Lucia had achieved full growth, but nevertheless, she would go on to live a colorful and varied life. Age 12, Lucia moved to the United States, where she would make a living by exhibiting her small stature, first as part of an act called the Fairy Sisters, and later as a partner of Francis Joseph Flynn, aka General Mite, one of the most renowned sideshow dwarfs of all time. Dubbed the Marvelous Mexican Midget by the Washington Post, Lucia found fame and adoration as she toured internationally for several successful years. At the age of 17, the Guinness World Records organization recorded her as the lightest recorded adult, weighing just 2.1 kilograms. By age 20, Lucia weighed 6.4 kilograms and measured 51 centimeters tall. The circumference of her calf measured just 10 centimeters, only 2.5 centimeters more than that of an adult male's thumb. Despite being healthy and intelligent, Lucia Zarate died prematurely at the age of just 26, when in 1890, her circus train became stranded in the snowy Sierra Nevada mountains. It was there that she succumbed to hypothermia. Prince Randian. History has shown relatively few cases of tetraamelia, a disorder which causes those inflicted to be born with a complete absence of the 4 main limbs. One such case was that of Prince Randian, who spent the vast majority of his life entertaining the public and became one of the world's best-known sideshow performers. Born in British Guyana, Prince Randian, whose true birth name has been lost to history, maintained an astounding level of independence considering his condition. Impressively, in addition to his native Hindi, Randian was even fluent in English, German, and French. The infamous showman P.T. Barnum was responsible for first bringing the 18-year-old Prince Randian to the United States in 1889, where he worked at a popular Coney Island carnival for many years. It was here that he acquired the nickname the Pillow Man. Randian was even featured in the 1932 film Freaks, in which he can be seen rolling a cigarette with his lips and lighting it with a match, an impressive trick that became a core component of his routine. Other talents of his included painting, writing, and shaving himself by affixing a razor to a wooden block. Randian's audiences were consistently wowed, and he reached truly impressive heights of fame. Randian sought to live as independently as possible in his private life as well as in his public one. He married a fellow Hindu woman with whom he fathered 5 children, and the Randian family lived in Paterson, New Jersey, until his death at the age of 63. Randian's story is one of independence and resilience, one which represents mankind's will and ability to adapt and survive against overwhelming odds. Thank you for watching Dark 5. Don't forget to like and subscribe to continue exploring the greatest mysteries of this world and beyond. Your support and engagement help my videos get seen by even more people. And let me know if there are any other unusual people in history I should examine.